the investment houses like Fidelity, EDC, Data Bank, to say that we have this client that is looking for this 9.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Mr. Bossman. Please, due to time constraints, all other questions can be asked after the final presentation. Thank you. All right, so our last speaker for today is Mr. Saifah. So Mr. Saifah holds an MBA Finance from the University of Edinburgh and a BSc in Business Administration from Ashesi University. He also holds a Ghana Securities Industry Certificate issued by the Ghana Stock Exchange. Mr. Saifah has over 11 years experience spanning private equity, corporate development, investment management, and investment banking. He is currently the Vice President of Pensions and Institutional Fund Management at UMB Investment Holdings, where he develops and executes investment strategies for multi-asset investment portfolios to enable individuals and institutions to attain their financial goals. He was previously Vice President of the Treasury Operations and was responsible for the provision of fixed income solutions to private and institutional investors to enable them achieve their investment objectives. He previously held the role of Vice President of Corporate and Finance and Advisory at UMB Investment Holdings, with his responsibilities spanning advisory, capital raising, M&A, just to mention a few. Prior to this, he was a private equity analyst at the First Group, based Ghana, an investment management firm where he executed investment and managed a portfolio covering the financial services, media, and real estate sectors. He was also an investment analyst at Blackstar Advisors, where he provided growth capital to Ghanaian SMEs and managed a portfolio of companies covering the manufacturing, agribusiness, and services sectors. In addition to this, his fund management and operations responsibilities for the Christian Community Mutual Fund, an ethical mutual fund managed by Blackstar Advisors. He played instrumental roles in the advisory and consulting team of Blackstar Advisors, which provided services to local and foreign clients. Mr. Saifah, your audience. Thank you.
All right, hello, good evening, everyone. And can you all hear me, please?
Yes, please, we can hear you.
Okay. Thanks so much, Bossman, for your presentation. Thanks, Sophia and Gideon also. So now that we know so much about financial markets and the investment opportunities available to us, and also, getting serious on our studies so that at least we can be able to learn careers, either our own hustles, our own gigs, or careers in the financial services space. What are the career pathways that are available to us within the financial markets? I would say largely put in Ghana and also elsewhere. So that's what I'll be running through this evening, and I'll try to make this as interactive as possible. Can you all please see my slide?
Yes, please, we can see your slide.
All right, so basically I'll just run through the financial markets, which my senior bossman has already captured. I'll just start it briefly, and then we'll run through careers within the financial markets, and then what skills are required for a career in financial market. So basically, just like my colleague Bossman said, basically when we talk about financial markets, we're referring to that broad marketplace where different kinds of securities are traded. So securities such as stocks on the stock market, bonds, which Bossman touched on, which I really appreciated, on the money markets and derivatives markets, the forex markets, the commodities market, and also, like we all know now, the cryptocurrency markets, where you have like the Ethereum and Bitcoin and other cryptos traded on. But when you delve in further into the financial markets, there are several players who one way or the other, carry out certain activities there to make the market complete and whole. So one, we have the individuals, which is yourself and myself also, who are mainly either borrowers by getting loans to the banks and other financial institutions, or investors, where we'll be investing in several securities, which I mentioned in my prior slides also. There are also institutions and corporate institutions who are also borrowers, who will be raising funding for working capital, and then also be issuing equity through IPOs, or even issuing also debt also, as listed debt also, to finance their capital expenditure and other working capital needs also. And then the third player is the government, because the government also plays a large role in the financial market space, where they would issue government paper like treasury bills and bonds to enable the government to fund the budget deficit, and also in a way to also control liquidity and then mop up excess liquidity. But most importantly, also, they are the regulators who ensure the sanity in the financial market and services space. And these, of course, include the Bank of Ghana, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and then MPR, Rich Bosman just touched on also. And then there are the market intermediaries or the market makers. And these are main institutions who, one or the other, buy or sell or trade securities, and also provide products and services and to also enable people either meet their capital raising needs or investment needs. So this would mainly be the commercial banks who would be lending and also doing the capital markets. We have fund managers also who would either be managing your pensions or your mutual funds or your private wealth products. We also have your investment banks who will be helping you raise capital or advising you on restructuring, like Gideon also mentioned. And then the stockbrokers also who enable you one or the other list or trade your equities also. And we also have your share registrars also who help you also register shares, and then the custodians and credit rating agencies also. So this list, I wouldn't say is exhaustive enough, but this mainly just covers it at a high level with regards to our market intermediaries. So once we know who the intermediaries are, of course, then that opens us up to a plethora of pathways with regards to the careers in financial markets. And like I said earlier on, this list isn't exhaustive enough. I mean, if we should talk about the careers, I mean, we can go on and on and on and on and on. But basically, I'll just touch on commercial banking, which you already know, investment banking, trading, private equity, and venture capital, asset management, consulting, fintech and IT, which is a very buzzing area these days, the economist route, and then finance, assurance and auditing, and then other areas that we can also look at also. So basically on the commercial banking side, where we have your banks over here, I mean, there are several pathways and opportunities that you can explore. One is on the relationship management side, where one would be in charge of liaising with customers or clients of the bank, either to provide them with some services or address their needs. And in that particular capacity also, you are more like a front-facing role for the bank, where you find out what the challenges of the customers are, what their needs are, and then you also interface with the back office and other colleagues of yours to enable you provide solutions to the client and also address whatever issues the client may have, or provide the clients with innovative products and services. So at least, I mean, they can enable the bank also make money and also keep everybody happy also. On the lending side also, you can also find roles on the credit side where you would be giving out loans and other credit products to clients across industries also. And then also, in order to ensure that the bank is in compliance with BOG regulations and other regulators also, and then also to ensure that the bank, one, has proper plans and measures put in place to manage risk and then also mitigate against risk also. You can also find a lot of roles within compliance and risk management. And another way the bank also makes money apart from lending is also through the Treasury Department, whereby the government will play within the capital markets and the bonds, which my colleague Bosman mentioned, to either trade on the capital market, also take certain positions also on the Forex market also. So over there also, you can find a lot of roles there within the Forex trading side or within the bonds trading side also. And that, of course, ties in within the capital market side also. And then on the investment banking side also, where we have where Gideon currently works in also, you would have typically find out that there are a lot of mergers and acquisitions, not usually in Ghana, but in other jurisdictions, although there have been some in recent times in Ghana also. There are some M&A rules that you can find there whereby you help companies who probably when you want to acquire another company, either in the same service line or either in forward or backwards integration, or even in another sector altogether also, say you guide them and then help them either raise funding and also guide them in order to execute this trade so that at least they also make money and everybody is happy. Other pathways also include corporate finance and advisory, where you help companies who want to raise funding, either debt or equity, to one, meet their working capital needs and also meet their capital expenditure needs. And capital expenditure is in reference to spending on things like equipment and other assets that you would need to run your business or produce whatever goods and service that you need. So, for example, if Casapreco, in this case, wanted to build a factory in Kumasi, they will probably either go to the bank, or they can also go to an investment bank who can then help them raise funding. So over there, what the bank will do is listen to them, find out what their needs are, and develop a financial model based on their plans and projections, or whatever business plans that Casapreco shared with the investment bank also. And then once that is done, then the investment bank may see other banks or maybe other interested investors, and then raise this capital or funding for Casapreco, whereby Casapreco can then acquire whatever machines or equipment and land it needs to set up and operate this factory in Kumasi. And once the factory is done and is operating, Casapreco obviously has the role or responsibility of paying back these lenders or debtors for this loan that is raised. So that's where an investment bank will come in also. And for IPOs, like recently we had a MTN listing, we've had several other listings on the capital, on the stock exchange also. Investment banks also coming here also. And then on the debt capital market, whereby investment banks will help institutions raise debt also. And on the sell side and buy side, so this again ties in to the M&A, the merger acquisitions that I mentioned, whereby either maybe a company is there and wants to sell one of its wings. So for example, we can use the case of, let's say maybe let's use Casapreco again. Well, Casapreco is in the business of producing bottled water, soft drinks, alcoholic beverages, and stuff like that. So let's say Casapreco wants to divert or move away from the mineral water business because maybe it finds it that maybe it doesn't have a lot of expertise in that regard, or sees that somebody maybe has a greater interest in that particular field. So Casapreco can approach, let's say, UMB Investment Holdings, or even my colleague Boss One at EDC, to help them sell this part of their business. So here the investment bank will then come together, listen to what the company wants to do, Casapreco in this case, and then also approach other interested buyers so that they can help Casapreco execute the sale by meeting these people, pitching to them, and then getting the best value out of it also. The reverse, again, is the buy side. So again, we'll use Casapreco here, whereby Casapreco probably wants to go into the production of wine. And so Casapreco has identified some fantastic wine vineyards in France or wherever, and then Casapreco wants to acquire this. So Casapreco obviously doesn't have the expertise in valuing this wine vineyard and doing a due diligence. So again, Casapreco will then approach an investment bank. Listen, I'm interested in expanding into the production and sale of wine because I see there's a lot of demand for wine in Ghana or Africa. And there's a lot of potential, and we also want to maybe expand our product range. So in that regard, then the investment bank here will then go out on the market, maybe get some information on this particular wine vineyard, do its due diligence, value the company, even look at other wine vineyards that are maybe even be better than what Casapreco has in mind, and then advise Casapreco on how to approach this acquisition, so that at least they can also get the best value out of this. Another role or pathway also within the investment banking space will also be compliance and risk management. Just like what you have with the commercial banking side also, there's also a lot of rules and regulations that investment banks have to adhere to, which one regulator is SEC also. And then other players come into mind. So for example, if you were again working on this Casapreco transaction, apart from, of course, you being an investment bank and reporting to SEC also, within the space in which you operate in, so you also have to look at other regulators like FDA and other players. So you also need to ensure that, your client also is compliant on that side. And internally also, you as an institution also has its books and stuff and other, so that at any point in time, you will not be found on the other side of the law. Then again, on the trading side, where we have our stock brokers and fixed income brokers also, there are opportunities there. And so you have stock traders whereby they would either help, after they help companies to list on the stock exchange, they also help individuals and other investors also purchase or invest in stocks also. And then other people who want to also maybe cash out on whatever stock holdings that they have also, they will then advise and help these people also sell so that they can also get some cash out. On the fixed income side, which is quite active also, another pathway there also is opportunity to also become a fixed income trader, whereby you would, I know you all remember the bonds that Bosman ran us through also. So after the bonds are listed, then also it affords us or provides opportunity for individuals and institutions or other investors to purchase these bonds. But you can't just directly go and purchase these bonds. You need to go through a broker. So here, in case if maybe you were a broker, then I would come to you that, listen, I'm interested in purchasing maybe this bond that was just listed last year or issued last year. And so you then advise me probably if there are even other bonds that are have higher interest rates or higher use, you then maybe advise me to look at that, given whatever plans or desires that I've shared with you. And then you then execute the trade for me. On the other side also, if I wanted to also sell, maybe I bought a bond last year, and now maybe I've seen a shiny new Benz that I want to purchase, I can come and see you again at this. I mean, I have this bond here, but this nice Mercedes Benz that I want to buy, or this nice house that I want to buy and move into. And so help me sell this particular bond. So then again, you as a fixed income a trader or broker will help me sell, and then I can then get my cash and buy my car or my house. Other opportunities also exist within the forex trading side, whereby you can trade across different currency pairs and even other commodities, also like gold, aluminium, and what. And another also interesting space, which is quite similar to what we discussed earlier on, is the private equity and venture capital space. And basically, private equity involves investing money in a company to get shares. So just like the IPO stage where a company comes out and is publicly listed, on the private equity side, it's the same thing. However, the company is not public. So you can have a company like, I would say, a bank like, let's say, Zenith Bank, for example, which is not listed in Ghana, but maybe would want to raise capital, that is equity capital, to expand maybe across certain geographic jurisdictions, or maybe improve on its products, lines, and offerings also. So in that case, also because it's not being listed, although you are investing for a share or a stake in this company, and then it becomes a private equity transaction. So there are several private equity funds which operate in Ghana here that you can always check them out and look them up on LinkedIn. So there's actually an association. I think there's the Ghana Venture Capital or Private Equity Association, where there are a number of member institutions there. So you can check them out on LinkedIn and also reach out to them to find out more about what they do also. The same in case of the venture capital. However, the difference between these two is the stage of investment. So usually with the venture capital, it's usually for early stage investment. So let's say some of you have come together and set up a startup where maybe you guys are building a software that will enable financial institutions trade efficiently. And so, generally, this is a great idea, great initiative, but you need funding. But the only thing is that you don't have cash, and also you don't have a lot of track record to get people to invest in you. But venture capital is also serious opportunity. Once the idea is bright, I mean, the financials look good and also has great potential also, they can then come in and take the risk of investing in this new or early stage venture. And then once they are in, they can also maybe come out or exit at a certain point in time. And thereafter, after the business has gone on and matured for a while, then the private equity investor then comes in also with an equity investment to get a stake in the business. So they may come in to either buy out the venture capitalist or buy more into this particular company also. But one interesting thing about private equity and venture capital is that because you are exposed to, so typically, let me just backtrack a bit. Typically for a private equity or venture capital firm, you may probably be focusing on a particular sector. So let's say financial services or manufacturing or ICT or maybe agribusiness. And so the good thing about this is that you would have a lot of experience and exposure to so many areas because you'll be working on financial services deals, agribusiness deals, manufacturing deals, even real estate deals. And so it also affords you the opportunity to learn about all these different sectors and then also probably even transition into a role in one of your portfolio companies. So for example, if you were working in private equity and you had one portfolio company which you had invested in, which maybe was into, let's say, FMCG, that's fast moving consumer goods. Let's say a company like Unilever, for example. And then you were the one in charge of monitoring this company, engaging with the CFO and management, getting results and updating your bosses. As time went on, you then developed a strong interest and knowledge in the FMCG space, and probably you wanted to transition into that space. Because you've developed that expertise in monitoring these companies, understanding their financials and the broader landscape with regards to the FMCG sector, you can then maybe opt for transitioning into this sector by either moving or joining or even applying for a role in this particular FMCG portfolio company of yours, or even joining another FMCG company which you are not related to in any other way. And so that also gives you a lot of exposure and then breadth in terms of mobility also. So that's one thing that you can also look at also when you are considering roles in private equity and venture capital. The same even applies to even if you were in like a commercial banking, because in a bank also you'll be given loans and credits to or dealing with businesses across sectors and industries also. So in that also you can also try and then learn more about whatever areas or whatever companies you are giving loans to. So maybe you will be a journalist. And a journalist here is that you would be maybe working or giving credits to businesses across various sectors, or maybe you may be sector focused. So let's say for you, your job is to focus on loans to the oil and gas space. In that capacity also, you can then learn more about that industry and then develop expertise there. And if you have any interest in moving there, it becomes easier for you to transition in there, even though maybe you may not have had any direct working experience, but because we're able to demonstrate a detailed or in-depth understanding of that particular space also, it then becomes easier for you to transition in there, and then people also will see you as a preferred candidate also. And also in asset management, which Osman and myself also working. So I think Saifah also, you have other pathways like pensions, whereby you'll be managing the pensions of institutions or staff in institutions also. And then there are other quality investment schemes like the mutual fund, which BDC has, and also Fidelity also has, and then also UNB, the person holding, which is my firm, also we have also. And then other private wealth products whereby you may have wealthy people who have millions and billions or trillions of cedis and dollars, and would want to invest these funds in areas where they can then generate a good return on their investment instead of keeping this cash in their accounts where by the value will be eroded by inflation or the devaluation of the currency. So under the asset management pathway also, these are career paths that you can also take whereby you can develop the expertise or competence in managing the investments of people either around the private world, fund or mutual funds or pensions and other alternative investments also. There are also other areas like the hedge funds, but then in Ghana, we don't really have hedge funds operating here. But in other developed markets, there are hedge funds also where you need similar competencies to execute investment decisions in that regard also. And then you also have consulting. And I know we all know about the popular, the big four, which is Deloitte, KPMG, PwC, and then Ernst & Young also. I mean, those are the popular consulting firms. And there are other global consulting firms like McKinsey and Bain, Accenture, and then other ones like that, where you can have advisory roles where you advise companies that also want to raise funding or maybe acquire a particular company or take certain decisions. And because consultants generally would be have niche expertise across several sectors, and when institutions want to embark on certain projects or take certain decisions because they may not have all that knowledge or expertise. They will then rely on consultants to help or advise them on how to approach that particular decision or what things to look at in terms of risk, opportunities, and threats also. So there also, that gives you also a lot of breadth in terms of dealing with different clients across the various jurisdictions and then also sectors also. Again, also as a consultant, you will also help companies restructure. I know Gideon earlier on mentioned that whereby investment banks to help companies who are cash straps or liquidating or maybe even gone bankrupt or in the process of bankruptcy also. So as a consultant also, another role for you would be to help these companies restructure their operations and then probably help them maybe liquidate their assets so that they can get some cash to pay off their people who they owe. Another interesting opportunity in consulting also is post-merger integration. So after the investment bank has come in to advise on the companies to merge and all that, there's also a lot of work to be done. So these companies, because they are different companies working, using different systems, different cultures and all that, usually there's a need for some assistance to integrate their operations, their culture, their system that they use and all that. So sometimes companies can't do this on their own. So they need experts like consultants to come on board to help them tie in their system, see where they can, what they can get rid of, what they can acquire, so that they can then realize those synergies that they were expecting to realize to enable them become more profitable. And thus make the merger a success also. So that is where consultants come into play here. Then also for digitization products. I mean, in this day and age, everybody is pro-digital and then exploring ways whereby they can leverage on technology to become more efficient and also more profitable also to improve their bottom lines. And so because institutions may not have all the knowledge and expertise, they will rely on consultants maybe within a particular space to advise or help them in certain digitization projects that they are working on. So for example, if you have a factory that maybe used to be very mechanized and didn't have probably an automated production system, maybe before they embark on the project of acquiring an automated production system and the whole maybe full-blown digital IT system, they may engage a consultant to help them and advise them on how to approach that and how to transition from the manual to the automated process also. So that is where a consultant and other advisors will come into play. And then also the buzzing area of fintech and IT, where you can make a lot of good money. And so there are areas where you with the financial expertise also can engage in product development or product management rules. So basically, under product development, you will be helping or collaborating with the IT guys and gurus to develop products or financial products and services to enable individuals and institutions meet their needs or address their wants. I know we know of ZPay and SlidePay and all these other products also. I mean, even though these are IT and fintech based products, they also have people within the financial services or financial market space who also help them to develop products, basically that play within the financial services space also. So the product, as a product developer, you will then be working with your team to build the product. And after that, also you need to manage the product so that you can get, you can enable your users or your clients get the utmost value from this product that you develop. And then also work with your IT team to work on several product iterations so that the product can serve them better, get a lot of feedback from the users so that you can also make the app or the platform as efficient as possible also. So this is another pathway which you can also consider. And in the area of economics also, I don't know if any of you are economic majors or minors also, but then economics is I think is every single person needs to get some at this level of understanding or appreciation of economics, since economics covers everything that we do, no matter the industry that you work in, like healthcare, food, clothing, agriculture, manufacturing. I mean, you would have to have some certain fundamental understanding of economics so that you can position your business very well. Also position yourself in terms of your career and what you're doing also within the larger macro economic landscape also. So you could consider a role in economic research whereby you're doing a lot of research, either as part of the team in a fund management firm or an investment bank or financial institution to advise your team on which areas they can look at in terms of investment opportunities, and also what to look out for before they execute certain investments also. In the same way also, as an economic strategist also, you'd also be advising your company or your fund manager or your portfolio manager. So for example, Bosman in this case will be working with his economic strategist or economic research team who would maybe advising him on which areas to look out for in terms of maybe the fixed income or equities, and what variables or factors he should look out for with regards to the area of risk, so that he can make good investment decisions, and then the investors in his fund also can make a lot of return and make very minimal losses also. And then typically our core finance careers where you'll be doing either maybe other accounting roles, and then also other financial analysis roles whereby you'll be helping your finance team as part of a core business or within the financial market space. So I say that because you can pursue a finance career as part of a financial institution. So let's say you are in a bank, or you're in a microfinance company, or a savings and loans company, or even an investment bank also. You could be part of the finance department over there, where you'll be handling maybe the back office or the finance related roles. Also, maybe you could be in a manufacturing institution or any other institution whereby you'll be part of the finance team. So there you'll be helping the team in terms of capital expenditure, managing their working capital, paying salaries, that kind of stuff. I guess the baby is enjoying the presentation there. And then also on the assurance side, and basically assurance mainly relates to auditing. And so with the big four firms like I mentioned, PwC, KPMG, Ernst & Young, and then which one again? And then Deloitte also. And you can consider assurance careers over there whereby you would be carrying out both external or internal audits on companies to help them prepare their audited financial reports also, so that the management and shareholders can look at it and see how well or how bad the company is performing also. And then there are other areas outside our typical core financial market whereby you can also look at the public sector. I mean, of course, there are quite limited opportunities in the public sector because the government has a ceiling to how many people they can employ. But of course, there are other financial market related roles within the public sector, like the Ministry of Finance, where you have teams in there who would be responsible for budgeting and other capital market or financial market roles responsibilities also. And then you have the regulatory side, where you could have the Securities and Exchange Commission, which mainly supervises fund managers and then other players in the capital market space, and then also the stock exchange also. You could have the BOG, which is the central bank also, and then also the National Pensions and Regulatory Authority, NPRA, which is the regulatory body or the supervisory body within the pension space. So they supervise pension fund managers. But then beyond this also, I believe that your financial services education or your financial education shouldn't only limit you to the financial services space. There are other roles that you can apply that financial knowledge or skill on. And basically, I'll run through that once we walk through these skills. So there are a set of skills that you would require to pursue a career in the financial market space. And like I said earlier on, this list again is not exhaustive. We could go on and on and on, but then I just summarize this at a high level. So there are certain fundamental and core skills that you need. So one, digital skills like Excel, PowerPoint. These are fundamental. You definitely need these skills. I didn't mention Word because Microsoft Word. It is basic. You need to know how to use Microsoft Word. But then Excel and PowerPoint, because you need Excel for your financial analysis, and then you also need PowerPoint to prepare documents and pitches and presentations, either to your team members, your bosses, or to even other clients that you'll be meeting and interacting with. And then another skill which is now I now see as a core skill is also programming. And because of the way things are going, um, uh, things are evolving. I mean, gone are the days where it would take you maybe several days to maybe develop a particular model to analyze or help you take a certain decision. Nowadays, I mean, with the help of programming languages like Python, you can then create or develop a certain algorithm that will help you quickly analyze a particular maybe situation or create a certain model that will enable you make a decision faster. And so these days, I mean, most people are leveraging on this to enable them make more efficient decisions and also tease out a lot of salient points from data so that they can make more data informed decisions also. Another core skill that you need is finance and accounting, because I mean, in financial markets, you're dealing with numbers. Regardless of wherever you find yourself, you're dealing with numbers, looking at the financials of companies. And so to understand the financials, you need a little understanding of how what the various financial statements even mean and how they are related one with the other also, and how to see or determine when a company is performing well or not performing, or the company has the potential to perform, or the company probably maybe would be underperforming in the not too distant future also. And like I mentioned earlier on also, economics is one fundamental thing that you also need to have an understanding of. You don't necessarily have to become an economics guru or professor, but at least you need to understand the basic rules of economics, demand and supply, because all these things play in the financial market space, because it informs or plays a role in the price of assets and securities also, and it also plays a role in how you would also be valuing your companies and your securities like your bonds and stocks. And then again, also you need to develop some research skills also, so that you can also be able to get a lot of information which you can synthesize to advise your team or even yourself also on what decisions to take with regards to your role with the financial services space. And then also financial modeling, because when you are looking at a company that you want to advise your company or your business to acquire, or even to run certain projections or simulations of your company, you need to have certain basic financial modeling skills. And then all these things that I'm mentioning is available online, and it's sometimes even for free. So you can go on LinkedIn, and there are several LinkedIn learning programs and projects which you can engage yourself, and you can check out Coursera, and you can even check out even YouTube. YouTube has a lot of great financial modeling and also financial accounting, Excel, PowerPoint sessions where you can just tune in and learn a lot from these things. And there are also other soft skills that are also important to enable you be successful in your financial markets or services career. And one key thing is networking. And you need to always be engaging with people and speaking with people, not only within your team or within your area of operations, but then also other sectors also. Because in that way also you can find out what developments are happening within the broader business or economic landscape also. And then also engage with people outside your core function or core area, whereby you can then provide them with certain solutions or product offerings, and then make certain pitches with them, and even also help you get a job also. Also, apart from applying and sending out your CVs, so you need to reach out to people, to engage people. Like Gideon mentioned, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, even cold calling people, sending out emails, sending your CVs out. These are all ways of networking with people and professionals, so that you can, one, sell yourself and the skills that you have. Because you may be good, have all the knowledge, have all the expertise, but if you don't sell yourself and network with people, nobody will know how good you are. You understand? So that's one thing that you need to also take note of. And then also negotiations also. I mean, at any point in time, we are negotiating. I mean, when you go out to the market, you go and shop, you are negotiating. If you are picking a taxi somewhere else, you are negotiating. And so your ability to be a good or successful negotiator also helps you in your financial services career, or even in any other career that you may find yourself in. Yeah, for example, even as a doctor, you also need to do some level of negotiations also. For example, a patient may come to you, may have certain ailments or sickness that he may not want to maybe either undergo a surgery or take certain medications. Now you need to convince this patient, and you can't just force it down his or her throat, because of course he or she will reject it. So you need to or like convince this patient and negotiate with him or her to some extent so that they can then buy into your idea of either carrying out the surgery or taking this particular medication so that they can solve their ailment. So negotiations is important. And also learning how to speak and listen well. And speaking and listening skills are very important because they enable you understand what people really say and then what they are trying to communicate also. And then it also helps you also speak clearly and communicate clearly to people so that people can also understand your thoughts and your product offerings. If you were a marketer working for, let's say, Enterprise Life, and you didn't have good speaking and listening skills also, you'll be going out saying one thing and expecting your prospective customers to be understand you, but then that would not work. You need to also be able to understand them, find out what their challenges are by listening to them very well, and then thereby also speaking to them clearly in a way that they can understand. If you go about using all complex terminologies and terms, they may not understand you, and you may not also be able to successfully land the sale or get them on board onto your program. So that's one key thing that you need to also be wary of. And I even had to add one more thing also, writing also. It's important to learn how to write clearly and effectively also to communicate your thoughts and your ideas. So if you were a research analyst working for EDC, where you'll be writing research recommendations or reports, either for your internal teams or for publication on the internet or the newspapers also, your writing has to be clear, and you can only do this through regular practice. I mean, practice. I mean, writing for your peers, even writing for your lecturers, for them to review, and then also even setting up blogs whereby you can write and engage people also. That's a good way to further develop your writing skills also. And one critical thing is teamwork. Teamwork. I mean, in financial services, one thing that is important is learning how to work in teams because, I mean, you can't be the jack of all trades, the master of all. That's not possible. I mean, it's impossible for you to be doing everything. You need to be working with teams, and this could be maybe teammates within the same area or even cross-functional teams. So in a typical investment banking or private equity transaction, you'll be working with lawyers, working with accountants, you'll be working with maybe different professionals across board. And so you need to learn how to work effectively and efficiently with people in the team. Then also, if you're a team leader, also you need to have certain project management and team working skills so that you can be able to huddle everybody together to execute whatever goals and targets that you have so that you can either make the clients happy or make your company also happy and successful also. Then last but not the least, you need to be very creative. You need to learn how to think outside the box. And so you may be faced with several problems that you wouldn't have any clue or idea how to solve, but through, creative thinking, brainstorming with your team, and even speaking to people who are experts. Also, you can then get a lot of insight and ideas whereby you can also refine your suggestions or ideas and then be able to offer an innovative or an effective solution to the client or your team also. I mean, it's always good to engage with because you may not know or you don't really have 100% knowledge of everything in this world. Even if you know everything in this world, at least try and find out from somebody whether even what you know is the right thing or the wrong thing. So it's important to always keep on engaging people so at least you can also build up your knowledge and be creative in problem solving. So thank you very much for this session, and I'm happy to take any questions, comments, feedback also. Thank you.
Thank you to Mr. Yao Saifah. Please, any questions for him or any of the speakers? I don't think there are any questions since no one has raised their hand. So.
Okay, so I see.
All right, Mr. Saifah, thank you so much for the hand. Oh, okay, the hand.
Aita Bernard and then Kofi Badak. Okay, so I think Aita, Bernard, you can go ahead. If he can be unmuted so that he can ask his question. Okay, Bernard, I think you've been unmuted. You can proceed, please. Hello, Bernard. Oh, I think Bernard is off. Kofi Badak. Yes, you've been unmuted. Yes.
Yes. Good evening, sir.
Good evening,
Hello?
Kofi.
Yes. Mine is not a question. I wanted to ask if the Zoom video will be made available to us.
I believe so. I think the moderators will definitely make this available to you. I
Okay.
can't confirm though, but I believe they will make it available.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, hello, Doku. Good
Yes,
evening.
good evening. Please, I have two questions, and the first one, I think we'll go for this one, Mr. Bosman, who had earlier on his presentation before Mr. Yao. In his presentation, he said that this year the international money market or capital market has been denied access for Ghana. And I would like to know the reasons Ghana is not having access to the international market in terms of money market or the capital market. Now, the second one, I think in your presentation, while presenting the financial market, the various markets in the financial market, I saw the cryptocurrency market. But currently, when we look at what is happening in Ghana, I think Bank of Ghana has totally refused access or operation of the cryptocurrencies in Ghana. So, does it mean that it is a bad market for Ghanaians, or just that they don't have a proper regulation? They don't have a way to properly regulate that market. That is why they don't just want the Ghanaians to get involved. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. Thank you for the question, Doctor. Maybe I'll start with the last one there so that maybe Bosman can also continue with this. Yes, so I mentioned or I included the cryptocurrency markets just because if taking Ghana outside, I mean, on the broader financial market space, I mean, it is an active market in other developed jurisdictions also. Yes, you are right. BOG and the other regulators have not given the cryptocurrency markets the green light for now. There would be a lot of reasons like you're mentioning, and one would be that probably maybe the framework for monitoring and regulating that particular side of the market hasn't been put in place, and so it will be a bit risky to then sanction that, and then thereafter when things happen or go bottoms up, then there will be whole chaos and pandemonium in the financial market space. Probably maybe there could be, from my end, I think that could be one reason why. But of course, from the regulator side also, there could be several other reasons why that hasn't been sanctioned. But I'm sure maybe in the medium to long term, as things clear out and things pan out properly, once measures are put in place, maybe a more sanitized structure can be put in place so that maybe that space can then be properly regulated, and then it can be given a green light.
Thank you very much.
Bossman, over to you, Chief.
Okay, thank you, Yao. So yes, I did state whilst I was doing my presentation that this year Ghana has lost access to the international capital market. And this came through a number of ratings that we got from the key rating agencies of this world, S&P, Fitch, and so on. Basically, these rating agencies use data from every country to assess whether the country is in good health to be able to access funding across the world. And I think late last year, early this year, we saw them rating Ghana and declaring that we are in a state where it is risky for investors to be investing with that. Hello. So effectively, these rating agents will not tell investors not to invest with Ghana. However, the rating that they give you will be a pointer or an indication to investors that the risk profile of Ghana has heightened, and for which reason investors will not be interested in investing with us. So what are some of the key rating macros that these key rating agencies use? I think for Ghana, the key macro or the key indicator that did not work in our favor is our debt levels. Ghana's debt profile has not been looking good in recent times. In fact, the last figures that were released shows that Ghana's debt to GDP is around 81%, which is quite high. And it's not just the debt levels, because there are countries that also have high debt levels, but we're also having challenges with our revenue mobilization, and we have been struggling with deficits since COVID set in. So generally, this has heightened the risk of Ghana, because if you are not collecting enough revenues, your expenditure is going up, and your debt also goes up. There's effectively a risk going up for your investor. What it means is that investors fear that when they invest with you and it matures, you may not be in a very good position to be able to pay. So because it's some of these things that affected the rating of Ghana and generally caused Ghana to lose access to international capital markets. We have to say that, for instance, with the passage of e-levy, some of these concerns will be abating for any, because e-levy alone was projected to fetch Ghana around 6.9 billion Ghana cedis. And things got worse when the international community got to know that Ghana was struggling to pass the e-levy. I mean, on individual level, we are all not happy that e-levy is coming to play, because we are going to pay these levies left, right, center once it comes into force. But at the government level, that is additional almost 7 billion that is coming into the coffers of Ghana. So for such news, international community is happy. The government has also come out with a lot of measures such as expenditure cuts, all in a bid to prove to the international community that we are managing our economy well, to be able to go back to the international community probably next year. But generally, that has been the reason, because investors generally believe that Ghana's risk profile has gone up. We are struggling with debt, we are struggling with revenue, our expenditure is going up. So it wasn't to be. And when these key rating agencies come to downgrade your economy with a negative outlook, nobody tells you not to venture into the international capital market. If you go, you either get embarrassed or you have to pay. You have to pay through your nose. In other words, the interest that they would demand to be able to lend to you be so high. So that's the story around Ghana. But I have to say that with recent publication, this is improving.